Imagine sitting in a heavily soundproofed room, like completely insulated.
Oh, yeah, dead silent.
Exactly. Outside, there is just this Category 5 hurricane of people launching projects, screaming for attention, hustling, grinding, just generally losing their minds, trying to keep up with the frantic pace of April 2026.
Which is a very chaotic energy right now.
It really is.
Yeah.
But inside, there is total, absolute silence. And if you are a Taurus listening to this right now, the universe has basically just locked you inside that room.
Yeah, turned the deadbolt.
Right. And today, we are going to look at the blueprints to show you why staying in that room, like literally resisting the urge to kick the door open and join the chaos, is actually the most lucrative, powerful, and transformative move you can make all year.
Welcome to our deep dive. I'm your host, and I'm here with a resident astrology expert.
Hi, everyone. I mean, it completely defies the cultural narrative right now, doesn't it?
Oh, totally.
The general vibe of the world is just acceleration. The expectation is binary. You are either producing visibly and moving fast, or you're failing. Right. There's no in between.
None. But for you, Taurus, your astrological and psychological landscape for this month is charting this massive cosmic divergence. The rest of the world is spinning outward, but your universe is actively pulling you inward.
Okay, let's unpack this because we've got our hands on a fascinating source today. It's a highly specific astrological forecast for Taurus in April 2026, and it's brilliantly titled The Silent Architect.
Such a great title.
It really is. And our mission for this deep dive is to map out exactly how you can navigate what this forecast calls a cocoon month.
Right.
It's this period of invisible work, hidden opportunities, and just profound spiritual clearing that all culminates in a spectacular butterfly moment just as your new solar year begins. The overarching theme here, April is not a month for loud launches, it is a sacred pause.
What's fascinating here is how sacred pause is a term that gets thrown around in, wellness circles to the point where it almost sounds like a luxury vacation.
Like going to a spa or something.
Exactly. But the mechanics of what is happening in your astrological chart suggests something entirely different. A pause is not an absence of action.
Interesting. How so?
Well, think of an architect staring at a blank piece of paper in a silent room. They aren't doing nothing. They are doing the heaviest lifting of the entire project.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they are calculating load-bearing walls. They're predicting structural failures, designing the foundation. That is what you are doing this month.
Okay, to understand why this feels so radically different, so isolated from the collective chaos, we really have to look at the actual architecture of the sky right now.
Let's do it.
So your birthday season officially kicks off on April 20th. But the first 3 weeks of this month are completely dominated by an area of the sky known as the 12th house. And the reason it's so dominant is that the sun is currently traveling through Aries, which happens to sit exactly in that 12th house sector for a Taurus.
Right, and let's break down the mechanics of the 12th house because it is notoriously like the most misunderstood area of the zodiac.
People always freak out about it.
They do. Astrologically, it is the final room you walk through before a new cycle begins. It rules the subconscious, the things hidden from view, secrets, isolation, and critically, endings.
Endings. That's the scary word for a lot of people.
It is, but it's really just the cosmic recycling bin. Before you can step into the first house, which is your physical body, your identity, your new solar year, you literally have to pass through the 12th house to dissolve whatever baggage you accumulated over the last 12 months.
But here is the tension that makes this specific transit so wild. You have the sun in Aries. And Aries is pure, unadulterated fire.
Oh, absolute fire.
It is aggressive, it is initiating, it wants to conquer and sprint. But right now, for you, that raging Aries fire is trapped inside the watery, hidden, isolated 12th house.
Yeah, it's a massive contradiction.
It's like having a roaring bonfire contained inside that heavily soundproofed room we talked about. You can feel the intense heat. You know the fire is raging internally, but from the outside, nobody hears a single crackle.
That internal pressurization is exactly what generates the energy required for a metamorphosis. And it gets even more complex.
Of course it does.
Yeah, the source material highlights that Saturn and Neptune are currently conjunct, meaning they're occupying the exact same degree of the sky in Aries right there in your 12th house.
Wow.
This is a rare, heavy-hitting combination demanding deep spiritual clearing.
Saturn and Neptune operating in the same room sounds like an absolute paradox. I mean, Saturn is the taskmaster. It is literal structure, discipline, boundaries, rings, time, harsh reality.
The ultimate reality check.
Right, and Neptune is the exact opposite. Neptune is the planet of dreams, fog, illusions, boundlessness, the dissolving of reality. How on earth do those two forces collaborate in your subconscious without just tearing you apart?
Well, they collaborate through friction. Think of Saturn as a structural engineer and Neptune as an abstract visionary artist.
Okay, I like that.
Left to its own devices in the 12th house, Neptune will just have you drifting in a sea of daydreams and anxieties, completely unmoored. Saturn steps in and grounds the fantasy.
So it puts up guardrails.
Exactly. It forces you to look at the subconscious patterns Neptune is swirling up and demands an audit. Saturn asks, which of these dreams are structurally viable, and which of these are just toxic illusions we need to clear out? Saturn is literally building a scaffold around your subconscious.
Which brings us back to the silent architect. You are doing the architectural drafting of your next chapter, but you can only hear the instructions from that Saturn-Neptune collaboration if the room is quiet.
Right. You need the silence.
If you are constantly reacting to the noise of the external world, you cannot hear the subtle structural plans your subconscious is trying to draft.
And the physiological reality of this 12th house activation is that your psychic boundaries are exceptionally thin right now.
Oh, they're like paper.
Yeah. The source explicitly warns that you will have a high sensitivity to noise, to crowds, to other people's frantic energy. Energy protection has to be your #1 priority until the 20th.
You know, it reminds me of being backstage at a massive theater production right before the curtain goes up.
Oh, that's a perfect analogy.
Right. Because everyone in the audience out front thinks absolutely nothing is happening. They are just chatting, reading the program, waiting. But backstage, it is highly coordinated, quiet chaos.
Yes.
Props are being moved, costumes are being zipped, people are whispering cues. You have to keep those stage doors dead-bolted so the audience doesn't wander in and ruin the fragile preparation.
Because the 12th house dissolves your usual armor. So every passing comment from a coworker, every stressful news headline you scroll past, every crowded grocery store you walk into, it all permeates your energetic field much deeper than it normally would.
It just sinks right in.
You aren't just observing the room's energy, you are absorbing it as if it were your own.
Okay, wait, I have to challenge the practicality of this.
Sure.
Because telling a listener that their psychic boundaries are thin and they need to, protect their energy, that sounds great on a yoga retreat.
Right, in a perfect world.
But how do you actually do that when everyday life still demands your active participation? I mean, you still have a boss, you still have family obligations, you still have to navigate traffic. You can't just evaporate into the ether for 3 weeks and say, sorry, Saturn is auditing my subconscious.
No, you can't evaporate, but you can radically alter your availability. Protecting your energy in this context means rigorously recognizing the physical symptoms of those thin boundaries.
Okay, like what?
When you are in a meeting and you feel a sudden, inexplicable spike of overstimulation, or when a seemingly minor text message leaves you feeling completely drained for 2 hours, you have to recognize that as an energetic breach.
So it's about identifying the leaks and aggressively patching them.
Yes, it's about saying no to the optional drains. And this is where Saturn is actually your greatest ally. Saturn gives you the authority to build a boundary around that Neptunian sensitivity. Saturn is the permission slip to leave the party early without apologizing, to put your phone on Do Not Disturb for an entire weekend, to close your office door and just stare at the wall for 10 minutes. You have to manufacture the silence.
I love that. Manufacture the silence. Because that exhaustion you feel from just existing in crowded spaces right now, that bleeds directly into how you need to operate in your professional life.
Absolutely.
Because this need for backstage preparation, this locking of the stage doors, is the exact strategic playbook the forecast gives for your career and ambition this month.
The forecast is uncompromising on this, honestly. For April, your work happens behind the curtain. The focus is entirely on finishing long-term projects, tying up loose ends, or preparing for a major reveal in May. There's absolutely no instant gratification available to you right now.
And let's be honest about how psychologically difficult that is.
Oh, it's brutal.
We live in a relentless hustle culture that demands constant performative visibility. If you don't post about your grind on LinkedIn, if you aren't visibly exhausting yourself in the Slack channel at 9 p.m., the culture implies you aren't valuable. It equates visibility with worth.
But defying that culture is where your true power lies this month. There is something profoundly empowering about keeping your wins, your strategies, and your preparations entirely private.
Yeah.
You are cultivating leverage by not giving your energy away to the public gaze. You are holding the tension of unexpressed potential, which is incredibly magnetic.
And that magnetism is exactly what triggers a highly specific date, the source points out. Around April 8th, Venus, which is your ruling planet, making its movements incredibly important for you, aligns with Jupiter.
A huge transit.
Yeah. The forecast notes that during this window, a past professional contact might reach out with a hidden opportunity. It specifies that this will be a private conversation, not a public post.
This is a textbook 12th house manifestation of Jupiter's abundance. Jupiter expands whatever it touches. It brings luck and growth. But because it's operating in the 12th house, it does so in the shadows. It operates through back channels.
But why do the absolute best opportunities often come from private whispers rather than public job postings?
Because by the time an opportunity is public, the true value has usually already been extracted, or the competition is so artificially inflated that the leverage is gone.
That makes total sense.
The Whisper Network is built entirely on established trust and karmic history. A past contact reaching out privately means they have already vetted you in their mind. They don't need a resume. They remember how you handled a crisis 3 years ago. They are offering you access to the VIP room before the club even opens.
But here's the catch. You have to be quiet enough to hear the whisper.
Yes.
If you are screaming your accomplishments into the void, frantically trying to prove your worth to the algorithms, you might completely miss that subtle private ping on April 8th.
Which is why the silence isn't just restorative. It is highly strategic. But there is a flip side to this career astrology that is much heavier.
Oh boy. There we go.
Saturn isn't just bringing structure. It is asking a very uncomfortable question. What are you ready to let go of?
Yikes.
The forecast states that you need to actively plan an exit strategy for heavy, uninspiring career paths. You simply cannot carry old baggage into the massive upgrade coming in your new solar year.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because it's like trying to install a massive next-generation software update on your phone, right?
Yeah.
But your storage is completely full of outdated apps you haven't used since 2019.
Yep, the dreaded storage full notification.
Exactly. The update has to happen in the background. Your screen goes completely dark for a bit.
Yeah.
But you cannot even begin the download until you delete the old operating system.
Yeah.
You have to let it die.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, to the silent architect concept, you cannot design and build a spectacular new skyscraper on a lot that is still cluttered with a decaying, structurally unsound building.
You just can't.
You have to demolish the old baggage first. You have to clear the lot. And Saturn demands realism in this demolition.
But demolition is exhausting. It requires acknowledging that something you spent years building is no longer serving you. It feels like admitting defeat, even if it's actually an evolution.
It does feel like defeat to the ego, but if your current career path is draining your life force, Saturn isn't asking you to just positive think your way out of it or to manifest a better bushes.
No vision boards for Saturn.
No, definitely not. Saturn is demanding a structured, methodical exit strategy. It says, okay, you hate this job. What is the 6-month financial plan to leave? You don't have to quit tomorrow. In fact, you shouldn't. But you must start drafting the blueprints for your departure. The energy required to sustain a path you've outgrown is exactly the energy you need to fuel your upcoming butterfly moment.
So you are systematically clearing the lot in your professional life.
Yeah.
But that raw, vulnerable state of demolition, it leaves you completely exposed. And the source makes it clear that this exposure bleeds directly into your personal life.
It absolutely does.
Just as you are having these private, hidden conversations in your career, your personal relationships are plunging straight beneath the surface. You are officially abandoning small talk.
The forecast literally calls this section deep waters. Relationships are going to feel soulful, mysterious, and intensely demanding of truth.
If you're in a partnership, the forecast says you and your partner will likely find yourselves bypassing the how was your day routine and diving straight into deep existential topics. You just have zero bandwidth for superficiality right now.
None at all.
But why does the Taurus energy, which usually loves simple comforts and straightforward routines, suddenly crave existential depth so aggressively?
Because your subconscious is cracked wide open. When the 12th house is this activated, the superficial layer of reality feels almost offensive to your nervous system.
Offensive.
Yeah, it feels like a massive waste of precious energetic resources. Asking what's for dinner feels entirely disconnected from the massive internal tectonic plates shifting inside of you. You want to know what your partner fears. You want to know what they dream about when they fail. You are seeking heavy anchors in very deep water because the surface is too chaotic.
And for single Tauruses, this deep water gets even more intense. The forecast points to a full moon on April 2nd that brings a fated or karmic encounter squarely in the sector of closure.
Very significant timing.
It explicitly says this could mean finally getting over an ex or realizing why a specific painful pattern kept repeating in your dating life.
Well, a full moon is always an illumination. It is the climax of a lunar cycle where the sky is brightest, revealing whatever has been hidden in the dark. In the 12th house, it illuminates the ghosts.
Ooh, illuminating the ghost. But wait, let's redefine this because I think the term karmic encounter is wildly misused.
Oh, completely.
When people hear that, they immediately think of a romantic comedy meet cute. They think the universe is about to drop their soulmate into their lap while they reach for the same oat milk at the grocery store.
Exactly, the cinematic romance.
Right. But a karmic encounter could actually just be running into someone who triggers a massive psychological aha moment about an ex rather than a new lifelong partner. Right.
This raises an important question about how we seek closure. We have been conditioned to want the fairy tale version of karma. But karma, in its original esoteric sense, is simply about the balancing of scales, the law of cause and effect, and the learning of necessary lessons.
So it's not necessarily romantic.
Not at all. A profoundly fated encounter on April 2nd could literally be a 5-minute conversation with a stranger in a coffee shop.
Yeah, I have a friend who had this exact thing happen during a similar transit. She's talking to a barista, and the barista casually complained about her boyfriend using this very specific manipulative phrase.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and my friend heard it, froze, and realized her ex from 3 years ago used that exact same phrase, and she had been blaming herself for the fallout ever since. It was a 5-second interaction, but it completely shattered a 3-year cycle of guilt.
That is the perfect example of a psychological mirror. That encounter provided the ultimate closure. And here's the brutal truth about closure. It rarely, if ever, comes from the person who actually hurt us.
So true. We always wait for it, though.
We wait for their apology. We wait for them to suddenly gain the self-awareness to understand our pain, but that is a trap. True closure comes from our own subconscious finally understanding the pattern and breaking it internally. The encounter on April 2nd is simply the external catalyst for that internal break. It snaps the invisible thread tying you to the past.
That is incredibly liberating. And it perfectly sets up the massive emotional shift that happens mid-month. The forecast notes that Venus enters a much more stable part of your chart, bringing a profound feeling of coming home to yourself.
Yes.
You realize that the most important fundamental relationship you have is the one with your own soul.
Once you experience that closure, once you break the karmic pattern, you stop frantically looking outward for validation. You stop needing someone else to tell you that you are okay. Coming home to yourself practically feels like sitting alone in a quiet room and feeling completely unconditionally safe in your own body.
Just being at peace with yourself.
Right. You are no longer trying to escape your own company through distractions or bad relationships.
It is the absolute prerequisite for the butterfly phase. You cannot emerge from the cocoon if you are actively at war with the caterpillar.
Exactly. But all of this internal work, the psychological demolition, the karmic breaking of patterns, the existential deep diving, it requires an astronomical amount of energy. Your internal world is running a marathon every single day right now.
Which is exactly why the forecast is telling you that you must deliberately hit the brakes in your material world. You cannot burn the candle at both ends. And the specific area where you need to enforce a massive slowdown is your finances.
The forecast calls this phase strategic patience. Financially, April requires a strict, non-negotiable wait-and-see approach. You need to keep the wallet firmly closed and your eyes wide open until the sun shifts on April 20th.
Let's break down the specific planetary cocktail driving this financial advice because it's volatile.
It's very tricky.
Mars is currently influencing your sectors of shared resources, debts, and long-term stability. And Mars is the planet of action. It wants to spend, it wants to invest, it wants to conquer territory immediately. But concurrently, we still have Neptune's heavy fog lingering over everything.
It is a spectacularly dangerous combination if you aren't conscious of it. Mars creates a physiological sense of urgency. It pumps adrenaline into your financial decisions.
Like a panic.
Yes. You feel this intense pressure. I must buy this house right now. I must invest in this crypto coin today. I must sign this contract before I lose the deal. Mars gives you the engine. But Neptune completely obscures the reality of the landscape.
So what does this all mean? It's like driving a high-performance luxury car through actual impossibly thick fog. You know the engine is capable of doing 120 miles an hour. You feel the horsepower humming beneath you. Mars is telling you to hit the gas.
But you can't see a thing.
Right. Neptune has reduced your visibility to zero. You wouldn't speed up in that scenario. You would slow down to a crawl. You'd obsessively check your dashboard instruments, and you would wait for the weather to clear before you even think about accelerating.
That is precisely what you are doing with your money this month. You are navigating by instruments, not by sight. And the source points out a very specific vulnerability for you, Taurus, during this transit.
How's that?
It says you might be strongly tempted to make a large purchase for your home or garden, but you absolutely must perform rigorous quality control.
Which makes so much sense when you look at the psychology of a Taurus. You are ruled by Venus. You inherently crave beauty, physical comfort, and tangible stability in your environment.
It's your baseline.
Yeah, so when your internal world feels chaotic, which it absolutely does right now with all this 12th house deep cleaning, your immediate knee-jerk reflex is to try and aggressively beautify your external world to compensate.
It is a classic coping mechanism. My subconscious is an absolute mess. I'm processing karmic trauma, so let me go drop $5,000 on new landscaping and a custom velvet sofa. You are literally trying to buy the peace you are struggling to cultivate internally.
I call that financial band-aiding. But I'd argue it's worse than just a band-aid right now because of Neptune's involvement.
It is worse because Neptune rules illusions. That contractor you impulsively hired to build your peace-inducing garden might be cutting massive corners. Or that gorgeous velvet sofa you ordered at 2 a.m. to soothe your anxiety might be made with terrible materials that fall apart in a month.
That's the worst.
Quality control is paramount right now. The urge to buy isn't the fundamental problem. Your inability to see the flaws in what you are buying is the problem.
I love the idea of financial fasting here. You aren't starving yourself. You're just giving your bank account a mandatory reset before the feast on April 20th.
Exactly.
Because before we get to the 20th, there is one more major financial date on April 15th. The forecast highlights a major focus on passive income. You might be looking into investments or side hustles that don't require your daily active attention. But Saturn's presence dictates a massive reality check. Anything you start now must be for the long haul. We are talking a 5 to 10 year horizon, not a 5 to 10 month flip.
And that is such a vital, grounding contrast to the modern financial mindset. We are constantly bombarded with get-rich-quick schemes, day trading gurus, and the expectation of massive overnight returns.
Everyone wants it tomorrow.
Right. But Saturn fundamentally rejects that entire paradigm. Saturn rules time, maturity, and enduring structures. If you plant a seed on April 15th for passive income, Saturn demands that you respect the natural, biological growth cycle of that tree.
You can't yell at a seed to grow faster.
Exactly. It is about building a foundation that will hold the weight of your future over the next decade, not just providing a quick adrenaline rush for your ego today. What stands out to you when you think about where you might be rushing a 10-year plan into a 10-month timeline? That's the question to sit with.
It really is. The dynamic between Mars wanting action and Neptune obscuring reality is entirely a test of impulse control. If you can hold the line, the payoff is huge. Because on April 20th, the moment the sun officially enters Taurus, the source notes that your financial luck dramatically shifts.
It flips like a switch.
Your confidence in negotiating for what you actually deserve returns fully. The fog literally lifts off the road.
The astrological mechanics of that are beautiful. The solar spotlight moves from the hidden, isolated 12th house directly into your first house of self. You become visible again, you can see the road, you can see the other drivers, you can see the destination.
But you can only capitalize on that visibility if you haven't crashed the luxury car into a ditch during the fog beforehand.
Precisely. If you blew your savings on a defective velvet sofa on April 10th, you won't have the capital to invest in the genuine opportunity that reveals itself on the 21st.
This entire concept of checking your instruments, of navigating the fog, of slowing down, it perfectly mirrors what is happening inside your actual physical body this month. You simply cannot sustain the upcoming butterfly phase, the visibility, the new opportunities, the negotiations, if the vessel itself is compromised.
The forecast states this outright in bold letters. This is your most spiritual month of the entire year. And because of that intense spiritual activity, your physical health is tied directly and inextricably to your emotional state right now.
They're completely linked.
The mind-body connection is not a metaphor this month. It is a literal biological feedback loop.
The source says that if you are stressed, if you are ignoring the need for the sacred pause, your body will let you know immediately. It won't be subtle. It will manifest instantly as overwhelming fatigue or severe skin sensitivity.
Let's explore why those specific symptoms arise, because it's particularly fascinating during this transit. The skin is our largest organ, but more importantly, it is our physical boundary with the outside world.
Also the barrier.
Exactly. It separates me from not me. When your psychic boundaries are thin, as we discussed earlier with the 12th house absorbing everyone's energy, your physical boundaries sympathetically weaken. Your skin becomes highly reactive to fabrics, to weather changes, to stress hormones. It is physically mirroring your energetic vulnerability.
Wow. And the fatigue.
The fatigue sets in because your nervous system is working overtime in the background, processing invisible subconscious data, clearing karmic patterns, and drafting the blueprints for your future. Your body is acting as a highly sensitive, immediate alarm system. If you try to force a 60-hour work week right now, your body will simply pull the plug and enforce rest.
So the prescription here is very clear. The source says the weeks leading up to April 20th require serious, intentional detoxification, both physical and digital. You need to turn off the news, spend time in nature, and listen to the subtle messages your body is sending you.
Crucial advice.
Now, I have to push back on this again because telling someone in 2026 to just turn off the news in a frantic, globally connected, highly volatile world feels almost impossible. For some people, it feels socially irresponsible to just unplug when everything is happening everywhere all at once.
It feels irresponsible to the ego, which wants to feel in control by consuming information. But consider the mechanics of the 12th house again. Think of it as a massive, intricate water filter for your soul.
Okay, a water filter.
Its job right now is to purify your psychic waters before your new year begins. If you keep actively pumping muddy, toxic, fear-based water through it, which is exactly what the constant consumption of digital noise, social media comparisons, and crisis-driven news is, the filter gets completely clogged.
It physically cannot process the heavy spiritual clearing Saturn and Neptune are demanding if it's choked with Twitter notifications and existential dread from the 24-hour news cycle.
Exactly. Detoxing by retreating into nature isn't just a luxury for a Taurus. Earth is your natural astrological element. Sticking your bare hands in the dirt, walking in a forest, physically removing your body from Wi-Fi signals. It is a strategic requirement to backflush that clogged spiritual filter.
You have to clear the junk.
If you don't clean the filter, the clarity you are promised later in the month will be totally muddied.
And that promised clarity is the ultimate payoff. Because everything we've talked about, the invisible career prep, the exhausting karmic emotional clearing, the strategic financial fasting, the physical detoxification, it all builds to the true climax of the month, April 27th.
Yes. The source highlights April 27th as a pivotal release point. The moon moves through Taurus, and the forecast says you will feel a massive, undeniable surge of clarity. The heavy, disorienting fog of the 12th house completely lifts.
And in that moment, when the sky clears, you realize that all the intense rest, all the isolation, all the times you tapped out of the chaos earlier in the month, none of it was laziness.
Not at all.
It was exactly what you needed to handle the extremely busy, highly visible months that are about to hit.
It is the ultimate moment of vindication. It's when the silent architect finally unrolls the finished blueprints, looks at them in broad daylight, and sees the masterpiece perfectly laid out.
The vision is finally visible.
The math works. The structure is sound, the rest was the fuel. You simply could not have reached this level of crystal clear vision without the protective, messy, terrifying silence that preceded it. The vessel had to be emptied before it could hold the new vision.
Which brings us to the ultimate summary of this deep dive. April is your prep month, period. Do not rush this process. Do not let the frantic energy of the outside world shame you into abandoning your cocoon.
They'll try, but don't let them.
Right. The universe is literally clearing the stage right now so that you can step into the absolute brightest light when Taurus season officially kicks into high gear.
You have to remember your core identity right now. You are the anchor in the storm. The rest of the world might be chaotic, they might be spinning out, but your strength does not come from matching their frantic pace. Your strength comes entirely from your inner peace, your stability, and your willingness to do the invisible work.
And to anchor that reality, The forecast gave a very specific April affirmation. I want to read it clearly, and if you are listening, wherever you are, let this really sink into your bones.
Mm-hmm.
And as the source reminded us, remember to apply this to your rising sign as well for the most accurate timing of these events.
Very important detail.
Here's the affirmation. I trust the timing of my life. I release what no longer serves me to make room for the abundance that is coming. I am at peace, I am grounded, and I am ready for my rebirth.
I trust the timing of my life. That single sentence is the ultimate antidote to the rush of the outside world. It is the core, unshakable philosophy of the silent architect.
We've talked extensively today about letting go of old baggage so you can step into your butterfly moment and prepare for this massive upgrade. We've talked about clearing the lot for the new building.
We covered a lot of definition.
We did. But as we wrap up, we want to leave you with one final, slightly provocative thought to mull over as you sit in the quiet of this month.
We've spent a lot of time framing these hidden opportunities and fated encounters as stepping stones to something brand new. But what if they aren't?
Right. What if that intense karmic encounter on the 2nd, or that sudden hidden career opportunity whispering to you from the shadows on the 8th, isn't actually about the universe handing you something new at all?
What if its sole specific purpose is to finally make you drop a piece of baggage you didn't even realize you were still carrying?
What if the incredibly heavy thing you've been so tightly clinging to, the old job, the old relationship pattern, the old financial anxiety, the thing you are terrified to let go of because it feels like a part of your identity. What if that heavy thing is the only thing keeping your cocoon stitched shut?
The butterfly cannot emerge until the weight of the caterpillar is surrendered.
So as you step into the quiet this month, sit with that question. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the Taurus April 2026 forecast. Keep your sage doors locked, trust your timing, and we'll see you on the other side of the fog.